I figured out what the world is missing and how I can contribute that message and this missing energy to the world. Welcome back to another video. This one is gonna be intense, guys. This video, I'm basically telling you why I exist, why my life this is the purpose of my life. My entire life, I was born knowing that I was meant to contribute something very major to this world. And this is basically what it is. Like literally, I remember when I was 4 years old, my first day of school, I went into kindergarten in the playground and I was like, hi, nice to meet you, other 4-year-old. What's your name? My name is Madeline and I am God's favorite. Like core memory is locked in there, okay? And truly it took me, like, that was at 4 years old. I didn't really figure out what that purpose was until about 24 years old when COVID happened and I was basically isolated and went very much into a deep discovery inwards. So this video is basically talking about a little bit about that journey, how I discovered this purpose and how I am now living out that purpose essentially. And I need to start my stopwatch because y'all, I will rant about this. I will rant forever and yappa all day long because this is my life's purpose. This is why I'm here on this earth, is to give this knowledge. And I do lots of things around this. There's many different ways I like approach this. But the other day I was in my mastermind and I just got to talk about it for like 10 minutes and I got so lit up and I was like, oh my God, I just need to make a video about this. Like this just needs to be a video. So here we are, here's the video. Like I said, my whole life I've known there is something very important that I am meant to contribute in this world. Like just know it in my bones, in my soul, in my being. And it took me till about 24 to figure out what that actually was. So essentially I started dancing when I was 20 and just spent like in 2016 and spent a few years up until the COVID just dancing, living my life, traveling, being like a young 20-something-year-old with like a ton of money. It was amazing, a lot of fun, spent all my money, went to acting school, saved up, went to acting school, spent all my money there, all the tuition, living expenses, whatever, took a year off of work, graduated into a pandemic, and basically the pandemic shut down all of the bars, so I lost my job essentially. So I had no savings, I had a little bit of debt, and I had no income. And luckily I live in Canada, so we had CERB, which basically just like paid my rent while I was out of work, while the world was basically shut down. And this, luckily, I'm so grateful, gave me this little pocket of time where I just got to go so deeply inward. There was like no distractions. I had pretty much everything I needed to survive, you know, a little bit of money coming in for food and bills and stuff like that. But there was no extra events and explorations going out on the town, like nothing like that. It was just me and my home and Bear, obviously. And I figured it out. I figured out what the world is missing and how I can contribute that message and this missing energy to the world. So to describe what this is, I need to just describe a little bit of lead up to it essentially. So I was doing a little bit of psychedelics, I was exploring, I was going inside, I was doing all the things, and I basically had this breakthrough of an understanding of the chakra system. So if you're not familiar, I'll put a little visual here of the chakra system, which basically says that there are energetic centers in our body that represent different like areas of life or different like parts of energy within ourselves. So just for like really quickly, the root chakra, there's the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye, and crown chakra. So instead of seeing it as like a column of energy, I actually started to visualize it as like a target of energy where there's like a central circle and then multiple circles on top. And these circles actually represent the entire like human existence, like everything that ever has existed instead of just like within our bodies. So the root chakra, in my interpretation, is the self. It's the body, it's, you know, you're just you. And then there's the sacral chakra, which is like your inner circle, your inner world, the people that are like closest to you, your home, family, that kind of thing. Then there's the solar plexus, which is society and the cities and the buildings and the roads, all that stuff. The heart chakra is earth. The throat chakra is, if you could envision like all the satellites and global communications like buzzing all around the world and like the atmosphere, that's the throat chakra. The third eye chakra is then all the planets and the stars and the universe, and the crown chakra is everything beyond the universe. So this basically goes from us to everything beyond, and it encapsulates every single area of life that we know as That's all we know, right? Pretty much that's it. Essentially, I had this major realization for the way the world is progressing and evolving and how humanity is evolving. In the evolution of humanity, we have started with the body. We have started with survival, and anything to do with the body we have become really good at. So shelter, systems around food and water, nutrition and health, everything around the body, we have become like experts at that. We're really, really good at things to do with the body. And then after we discovered things around the body, we basically moved right into society. And in society, we then focused on like, you know, business and money and structures and systems and systematic cultural sorts of, you know, global kinds of things, society. And then everything from there is kind of not doing great. Like, we're destroying the environment. We have a huge miscommunication problem in terms of like the third eye, which also relates to like addiction and spirituality. Like, we have a major addiction problem, and everything beyond that is just muddled because we skipped the sacral. We do not, as a society, especially in Western society, have any sorts of established teachings around sacral energy. And for me, that is energy around our creativity and the cyclical nature of humans, around how we can communicate and have our like emotional resiliency and emotional understanding with our closest companions, and around sexuality as well. So that's just like this relating intimately, essentially. And because we have skipped the sacral, a sacral also involves pleasure and joy and this like slowness and juiciness of living. It's very feminine. It's the water element. All of this sacral energy, creativity, sexuality, pleasure, emotions, we don't get taught that. There's no school class about sacral energy, about like the importance of creativity and the importance of pleasure, the importance of slowing down, the importance of relating to each other. And guess what? Because we skipped that and went right from the self to society, we don't know how to function in society. And that is why there are so many people walking around wounded in society, because they got hurt through intimate connections, or they got, you know, they don't feel fulfilled because they're not creating or they're not expressing themselves, they're not tapping into pleasure and joy, creativity, sexuality. Because there is that lack, everything else suffers. That's why we have corruption and greed and destruction and misinformation and addiction and all this spiritual plague and all these weird esoterically, you know, how spirituality can get a little bit weird when you go into like the woo-woo people, like the real woo, like we're the 5D and all that. Like, no, that's nonsense, that's bullshit. Let's get back to the self, the sacral, and then we can move into society. So obviously society is already established, blah, blah, blah. So what we really need to do is go back to the sacral, go back to learning about ourselves, how to emotionally regulate, how to express our creativity in ways that we don't want to monetize, or don't feel forced to monetize, because that's this disconnect, right? Where we're basically saying like, oh, well, I can't have a creative outlet if I don't monetize it. No, you can. You actually have to have that outlet. Otherwise you will be miserable. You will feel unfulfilled. The same thing around sexuality and relating and finding our pleasure and feeling our ability to feel safe and express ourselves in that way. Like, this is what is missing from society. Now, I'm not trying to say this is some new information that like nobody has ever discovered before. Obviously there are people out there who understand these you know, emotional regulation and sexuality and the importance of like creativity and our cyclical nature and the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs, all this stuff. There are people who teach that, who that's their life's passion, all this stuff. But what is not talked about is that this is the key to solving every other issue. We see this as something frivolous. We see creativity and emotions and intimate relationships as something frivolous. Pleasure is just, you know, a added bonus, whereas pleasure is actually key. It is necessary to thrive in every other aspect of humanity's evolution. So what I propose, what is my contribution to the world, is the importance of sacral energy. Just picture me this for a second. Imagine there's, you know, two worlds. There's a man, he goes out into the world, he makes a lot of money, but he also is like, there's lots of corruption, there's lots of greed in the workplace. Let's say he's like a lawyer or whatever. Imagine like the show Suits, I don't know, Mad Men. I feel like that's probably a good example. If you can like imagine the people from that show. Imagine they went home and they had loving, fulfilling relationships. Imagine they knew how to emotionally regulate and communicate their feelings. Imagine they had creative ways to express themselves, whether it's like photography or painting or like figure skating or baking or anything. Imagine they had those pleasurable outlets in their life and they didn't feel shame around them. They didn't feel like they had to be guilty pleasures. They just got to enjoy them freely. Imagine how much differently they would go show up in the world. Imagine how little they would need to feel the desire to like take power and suck and drain energy from other people, right? This is the key to solving all of these issues, because people don't need to destroy the environment to gain more power and money if they feel satisfied and fulfilled with their home life. If they feel like they are fulfilled deeply, they find pleasure and joy and satisfaction in their life, they don't need to keep endlessly consuming and destroying and progressing the world, because we've already done a lot. Like, I think we're good. I think we can like leave the trees alone, honestly. I mean, obviously I'm all for sustainable forestry, but we don't need to be like clear cutting all these things and polluting the rivers and the Amazon and the oceans and all this stuff and overly consuming. We don't need more sweaters. We don't need more t-shirts and hats and sneakers and like we don't need it all. We just are trying to fill a void that could be filled by expressing ourselves fully, emotionally, creativity, sexually, creatively, sexually, whatever. I think you're kind of understanding my point here. And so this is the message that I want to spread to the world. This is the thing that the world needs to understand, because these things exist, right? Like, obviously people are aware of creativity and sexuality and emotional, everyone's aware of that kind of stuff, but we don't place an importance on that. But the way for the world and humanity to evolve, that is a critical part. I'm not saying we ignore everything else. I'm saying we need to see the importance of sacral energy. If we want to go from surviving to thriving to progress and have beautiful environments and strong communication globally and understand the universe and the mind and all these amazing things that we get to have access to, but do it in a way that's more explorative and like fulfilled. We're not coming at it from a place of like, I have to find the answer, otherwise I don't exist. It's like, no, actually I feel good. If I find it, I find it. If I don't, I don't. Because I'm coming from a place of being already fulfilled by my own existence. I don't need to find these like, I don't need to go cut down another forest to feel good about myself, or like make another $1 billion to feel good about myself, because I already have that. So that's my contribution to the world. However, in practice, I feel like this is something that, you know, not a lot of people are going to understand right away. Like, the importance of pleasure, I think, is going to take some time for people to like adapt to that. Maybe you watching this, you like got it right away. And hell yeah, you are my people. Come on into my world. Let's thrive and be pleasurable. Let's thrive and enjoy the pleasure of life together. Let's have importance on these elements and really just dive deep and strengthen these things so that we can be an example for other people around us and we can spread this knowledge like a web. But for other people, I thought, okay, let's see, how do we teach this to the world? Like, obviously I can just talk and say these kinds of things, but this isn't gonna land for every single person, and I understand that. But so then I thought, okay, well, what if I like wrote a book? And I did start writing the book, and I wrote a few chapters, and I think that will be birthed at some point. But then I realized, if I'm gonna teach about joy and pleasure, I have to teach it in a joyful, pleasurable way. And to me, what's joyful and pleasurable is like art and music and experiences and performance. And that is something that I have grown up living and breathing. And I think now I see the reason why I was always in music and dance and theater and acting as a kid, because I was meant to showcase this story, this information in a big, beautiful show. Essentially, you know, where we bring in sex workers and drag queens and dancers and singers and musicians, artists, all these things, and we create this spectacular, incredible show that teaches the importance of pleasure. We want to teach this in a pleasurable way, something that lights people up and inspires them. So that is kind of my journey, and I know this will like express itself in many different ways. Obviously there'll be a book, there'll probably be a podcast, there's YouTube videos, there's gonna be a show. But to start that show, it starts with the music. And I thought a really amazing way to communicate this message is through music. I feel like that's a very accessible thing. Obviously, having a massive stadium tour worldwide is going to take a little bit of time. But what I can start with is the music. And that is why music has become my absolute priority, is like creating the songs and the sounds that are going to tell this story. And I don't think my first song is going to tell the story because it's kind of a bigger story, but I do want to just start the ball rolling and telling these different like stories and energies and building my brand around this so that eventually we can build up to this epic, spectacular performance experience that is just going to change the world essentially. So that is what I'm trying to contribute to the world. If you want to come along on that journey and help me spread the word and share the message and join the team, please just reach out. I would love to like just have more people in my corner that are like helping me with this, because it's going to take the whole world. Like the whole world is going to have to get on board for this to actually shift, right? And once this shifts, like we are then shifting deeper into a more balanced society where like feminism and masculine is more in balance, because the sacral is the feminine, right? And the sacral is skipped. So the feminine has also been skipped as well. That's why we have feminism. That's why the patriarchy has taken over and caused so much corruption and greed, because we don't have this balance anymore. So bringing back that sacral energy is just going to help strengthen all the rest of the progress that humanity is going to eventually make. All right, I'm getting close to my timer. How is this landing? How are you guys feeling? Is this sitting? What do you think? What's coming to mind right now? What is your body feeling? Like, tell me everything. I want to know in the comments. Please let me know how you're feeling. Send me a DM on Instagram or like whatever you want to do. I just really want to know what you guys think of this concept, because truly, like, this is it. Like, this is how we are going to change the world, is by teaching the importance of pleasure, the importance of sacral energy, sexuality, creativity, and emotional resilience and emotional, oh my God, I forgot the word, emotional capacity. Understanding ourselves as human beings. This is how we will thrive. Okay, cool. Well, like, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope that this lit you up in some way. If you don't understand, ask me to clarify further, and I would love to like clarify any parts that didn't really make sense to you. If the chakra stuff doesn't really make sense, that's totally fine. Honestly, you can just like not even worry about that, because that doesn't even, I think that's just my way of explaining it so that I can say like, and then we skip the sacral, and it's like, whoa. But really at the end of the day, I think anyone can see that if we took more time to spend on ourselves and our joy and our happiness, we will be more fulfilled people, and then we will go out into the world and not try and like cause so much damage, essentially. I feel like that's, you know, the layman's term of how to talk about it. Ooh. What do you guys think of the bangs, by the way? I'm kind of like really loving them. People are telling me I look like Sabrina Carpenter a lot, and like I'm not mad about it, but like I kind of want to have my own visual identity and not like try and copy someone else's. Just when I do heatless curls, like this is just what happens to my hair. So like, I don't know. Y'all, this was really fun. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Please let me know what you thought down below. Please subscribe, because join the journey, join the adventure. This is what we are working towards. We are working towards total world shifting fulfillment. Imagine the world felt imagine every single person in the world felt fulfilled and happy and could regulate their emotions and had creative outlets and could express themselves in the sexual ways they wanted to. Although, by the way, this sacral energy includes the liberation and the destigmatization of sex workers, by the way. So that's kind of where I'm starting out, because I have a beautiful community of that. So that's kind of where I'm starting out, but this is where it's building. This is where it's going. This is where all the layers, everything is coming together in this beautiful, cohesive, sacral, juicy, flowing energy. And I'm really excited for you to join and be a part of that. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to my rant. I hope this felt some type of way inside of your body, or not. And I'm just gonna keep talking about it until it does. So I'll see you on the next one. Mwah. Bye.